Okay, here we are in math class again, checking our work from lesson 96. We're going to start with number 5. On number 5, we're supposed to write 0.15 as a percent. So I said 0.15 times 100%. That moves my decimal twice to the right. Bump, bump. Gives me 15%. If I start with 1.5 that I want to write as a percent, remember this is bigger than 1, so our percent is going to be bigger than 100%. So I move my decimal twice, bump, bump, 150%. Okay, number 9. How much is 5/6 of 360? 5/6 of 360. I changed my of to times. I made my 360 a fraction by putting it over 1. 5/6 times 360 over 1. My 6 and my 360 will reduce by 6's. 6 will go into 6 one time, 6 goes into 360 60 times. So now I have 5 times 60, 300 over 1 times 1. 300 over 1 is the same thing as 300. Number 10. Between which two consecutive whole numbers is the square root of 89? The square root of 89, this is not a perfect square, so I'm going to think about the perfect squares just below it and just above it. Just below a perfect square is 81. Just above a perfect square is 100. The square root of 81 is 9. The square root of 100 is 10. So the square root of 89 has to be between 9 and 10. Okay, we're going to go around this triangle. We're going to make 3 turns. Okay, and they ask how many degrees is each of the turns. So if I go around the whole thing, I've gone 360 degrees. I'm going to divide it by the 3 turns I make. That makes each turn 120 degrees. Number 12. They want us to find the missing number in the function table. Okay, so our function table, they've written this one sideways. They said our input is x and our output is 2x minus 1. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the values they give us for x and put those in here for x and see what we get. Okay, so if x is 4, they're showing us all of these except this one. If x is 4, I'm going to put 4 into this. 4 times 2 is 8, minus 1 is 7. If x is 7, 7 times 2 is 14, minus 1 is 13. So this is the one that we have to figure out. 13. 13 times 2 is 26, minus 1 is 25. So 25 should be in our blank here. Let's test it one more time with this one. 15. If x is 15, okay, then I'm going to use 15 for x. 15 times 2 is 30, minus 1 is 29. Number 13 says to factor and then reduce. So they gave us 45 times 54 over 81. So I changed 45 into 9 times 5. I changed 54 into 6 times 9. I changed 81 into 9 times 9, and then I just reduced. This 9 can reduce with this 9 and become 1s. This 9 can reduce with this 9 and become 1. So now I'm just left with 5 times 6, which is 30. That was a lot easier than trying to multiply the whole big top out and then divide by 81. Okay, 16 2/3 divide by 100. Remember, these both need to look like fractions first of all. 16 times 3 is 48, plus 2 is 50. So it becomes 50 over 3. I make 100 into a fraction, 100 over 1. So now I have fraction divided by fraction, which means fraction times reciprocal. So I'm going to do the reciprocal and get 1 over 100 here. My 50 and my 100 will reduce by 50s. 50 goes into 50 one time. 50 goes into 100 2 times. 1 times 1 on top. 3 times 2 on bottom. 1/6. Number 16 was adding mixed numbers. So I have to get the common denominators first, and I just decided to go with 6. So 4 and 1/6 just remain the same. 3 and 1/3. 1/3 became 2/6. So I have 3 and 2/6. My 1/2 became 3/6. So now I have common denominators and I can add everything. 2 and 3 and 4 gave me 9. 3/6, 2/6, and 1/6. 3 and 2 is 5. 1 more is 6. 9 and 6/6. 6/6 is the same thing as 1. So I have 9 plus 1, which is 10 for our final answer. Number 17. Number 17 is a multiplying fractions problem. I need them all to be fractions again. So I made 6 into 6 over 1. This becomes 5 times 3 is 15, and 1 more is 16 over 3 times 3/8. And then I just started reducing. My 8 and 16 could reduce. This becomes a 1. This becomes a 2. My 3 and 3 could reduce. They both become 1s. So now on top I have 6 times 2 times 1, which is 12. On the bottom I just have 1. 12 over 1 is the same thing as 12. 4n equals 6 times 14. So I'm just going to multiply this first. I get 4n equals 84. Okay, so we know the product. We know one factor. We can divide the product by this factor to find the unknown factor. 84 divided by 4 is 21. N equals 21. 25. We've got a proportion with a missing number. So I could do cross products and find out what W is. But on this one, I saw that to get from 6 to 36, I can multiply by 6. So I went that way. I said 6 times 6 makes 36, so I'm going to do the same thing on bottom. 9 times 6, W has to be 54. Okay, 29 was kind of hard. It was an order of operations problem. 3 squared plus 2 cubed minus square root 4 times 5 plus 6 squared divided by square root 16. So I don't have anything inside parentheses, so we need to do our exponents first. So I said 3 squared is 9, 2 cubed is 8, square root of 4 is 2, because I kept the times 5, plus 6 squared is 36, square root of 16 is 4. Okay, so now I've taken care of all my exponents. Now I need to multiply and divide from left to right. So the first one I hit is here. 2 times 5, I made that 10. Then I hit this one. 36 divided by 4 is 9. Then I rewrote everything. So now it's time to add and subtract from left to right. Okay, 9 and 8 makes 17. I rewrote minus 10 plus 9. Now I'm going to add and subtract from left to right again. 17 minus 10 is 7 plus 9. Final answer is 16. Number 30. What's the probability of rolling a prime number with one roll of a number cube? Express it as a fraction and a decimal. Prime number. So I wrote down all the possibilities that I could get if I rolled a die. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then I said which ones were prime. Well, 2 is prime, 3 is prime, 5 is prime. So that was 3 numbers out of a 6 total. 3 out of 6 reduces to 1/2. 1/2 as a decimal. 1 divided by 2 is 0.5. Okay? Okay, guys. Hope you have a great rest of your day, and I will see you next time. Bye.